Hey, what's up? I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Question of the day. Do you like, when you find out about a game, to come into it cold, or do you like to have a kind of well-prepped idea of what this game's going to be? Obviously, you're watching a review video right now, so perhaps I know which way you kind of already lean, but that's going to kind of feature in today when it comes to the game we're talking about. Today, we're looking at a game from Spielweis and Stronghold Games called The Boldest. This is a follow-up game from Sophia Wagner, not in the same universe or anything like that, but she's the designer behind Noria. So interesting game there, airships and all that sort of stuff. But let's take a look right now at what The Boldest is. Is it really bold? In fact, right now. Obviously that's corny, but we're going to take a look at how it plays. Come back up, talk about it just now. Think about that question. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like to know a lot about a game, or do you like to know just enough to not spoil even the experience for your gaming right now? So here's The Boldest. Here's how it looks when it's set up. Just like this. So the board is seated with these different cards out here. They're going to give you experience. You've got some monsters, you've got some equipment, you've got some artifacts, things like that. You also have down here the character cards. These are characters that you can recruit into your army. Everyone gets three sheets actually over here. One, you get your tavern and your barracks. This is kind of where your rested cards go. You get your planning board. So in a 4 and 5 player game, or 3, 4, 5 player game, you'll do 3 phases in each round. And in a 2 player game, you're going to do 2 phases, but you'll do 2 on each phase, which is kind of wonky to explain, but it makes more sense the 1, 2, 3 version, because it's a game about majorities in the first place. The King's board just goes up here. It's where dead cards go, or I should say exhausted cards go completely, and then the stack of the rest of the artifact cards and such will go up there as well. Just sit on there. Everybody gets a screen, because during the planning phase you're going to secretly plan where you're going to put and allocate your workers, your adventurers, I should say. And your adventurers, what I love is there's several different factions. Your adventurers all look different. So all these different factions, not only do they have different art on the back, the art on the front is different too. Just so you know that this hunter looks completely different than this faction's hunter, for instance. This one's pet looks completely different than the other pets. You got an otter here, one of them's a frog, which is pretty great, So all of these are totally different. A lot of great art style, as well as this makes a panorama. If you put these all together, you get that beautiful thing where you get a wonderful panorama picture once you put all your characters, workers together. Anyway, you get your entire faction's hand in front of you, and you have to decide, okay, on the planning phase, you're going to lay out a set of same types of heroes. Now, the pets, basically their ability counts as they can be anything, but they can't be a leader. Whichever person is on top is your leader. It currently doesn't really matter until you start recruiting some of these people down here, because they do better things when they're the leader. You will lay these down on your planning board just here. You'll do all 3 of them, then you'll flip it up and show it. Then you compare majorities, who has the most of that symbol, and you resolve it in the order of warriors first, then the engineer technicians, then hunters, then cooks or chefs or whatever they call it. There are a couple rules about what they can get. So basically, whoever has the most power, the most of that symbol. The idea is to be collecting experience points. These experience points are the numbers on the top left. Whoever has the most wins. Now, some of these cards have costs. The cost is the white symbol on the bottom right here, that you have to have a symbol like this one gives you this symbol, which allows you then to buy cards with this symbol on it in the bottom right, because the blue one in the middle and the black and blue one in the middle gives you the ability to buy ones with the white one. You start with 2 already over here, so you have this symbol and this symbol already starting the game with. You'll then resolve like this. Warrior cards can pick an orange or blue card from the bottom row, so it is done by rows. The technicians can do purple and blue cards from the bottom row. Then the hunters can do orange, purple, and blue cards in a single column, and as many as you want with the crosshair symbol on it. So this one and this one both have that crosshair symbol on them, so you would be able to take both of these because they're in that row. Pretty neat little power. The chef here, what happens here is you get to choose some of these cards from down here, some of the cards to add to your barracks. Now, when you do this, though, whenever you win an adventure, the leader of your adventure goes over here out of the game permanently. You say, well, okay, well, that's no big deal. Well, it is if you're not refilling that, because if you start to get too low on hunters, it's a good chance you're never going to win the hunters again, which is really problematic if you're trying to get more of these cards in a row. The way you can do, though, is you take your Chef's Power, which gives you new cards, and you get new characters that you can add to the barracks over here. They do a lot of different things, but this one allows you to have 2 extra symbols if this one's the leader. So if you went out with this one, it would be sitting on your stack of hunters. It would count as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'd have just that extra benefit. Now, obviously, if this is the leader, it would go away afterwards. But they all do different things, different leadership powers that are nice. The refresh face, basically, everybody who was in the adventure goes to your tavern, and then during the refresh, everybody who's in your tavern moves over to your barracks, and everybody who is in your barracks moves into your hand. The game ends when you play through the rounds that are here on the fireplace. The last round, you can turn your chefs into warriors if you want. Points are scored. Whoever wins has the most points.
So that's the Boldest. Now, people have been asking me, Brian, do a review, because I'm very positive when it comes to the game, do a review of a game that you didn't particularly like. Well, this is one that it feels weird to say I didn't like it, but it just didn't grab me. How about that? It didn't grab me. I can see why people would like this game, but for me personally, this is just not something I'm going to play all the time, only because it's a card game. Now, I do like the hidden player thing where you set your stuff behind your sheet. And I like the grid system. I do like the grid system. And I even like the fact that you're spending those cards and you lose them. But to me, it's still got that card game effect where you're playing a card game versus, a board game. And again, that's more of a thing where if that's your style, it doesn't matter. Then what I'm saying right now is totally irrelevant. But if you're more like me and you like your card games to do a little bit more something, then this one it didn't grip me. Again, it's not a terrible game. It's not even a bad game. It's not for me. It's not a gripping game to me. Now let's talk about some positive things about it first. The art is fantastic. This would be Max Prentice, and yeah, Max Prentice is the artist on here. Great job bringing this universe to life. I like these rusty kind of robots and just the cool, like the fact that the chef has a giant knife on his back. I still haven't quite figured out if you're tiny or not, but if you're not tiny, then boy, that's an impractical weapon. But really cool looking weapons. Like every faction is different. They all have a unique style, a unique kind of visual flair. They all pretty much play, a little different. But I like the fact that there's a panorama. Anytime a panorama happens in the art, I love that. I do like the grid system. I like that. Okay, you can score off these, or you can take from this column, or you can kind of change it if you have this tweak and make it for it's this row. I like the bidding section of it. So it's weird to say there's a lot of things about it I do like, but it just is not one I want to play all the time. So that's kind of how I'm going to do a negative review, is if it's not a bad game, but I don't want to play it often. How about that? Like, there are plenty of people that this game is for. In fact, it's already getting rave reviews elsewhere. But you're hearing me say it for the money from me. I don't want to play it often, okay? 30 to 90 minutes is pretty good. It's a little long at 90 minutes. Like this, it should not take that long. I get there's some deeper strategy. I get if once you get kind of rolling with it, you can go that long. But I just don't think it needs to be 90 minutes long. And you probably won't hit that once you start playing a bunch. If you're playing with the same people or whatever, you're not going to hit that time. Now, there might be a little bit of analysis paralysis when you're deliberating, but you really can't have that much AP considering what you can do, right? But I do like the fact that you get that nice player board. It kind of shows you what you can do, what each kind of card, when you win that majority, gets you. So that's the Boldest. Again, this review probably didn't turn that many people off of it who were looking at it like, oh, I can't wait to play this. It's more of just my take, my feelings, how I think about this game. So, which is what a review is after all. But you know my taste too if you've seen the reviews. We've done about 180 reviews here on the Dice Tower, and you can check them out in the playlist that I'm going to link down at the bottom. But the reason I brought up the question of the day is because I didn't know much about this game other than the art was pretty, and I heard people talking about it. I thought, well, let's give it a shot, and it just turned out, it's a pass for me. But definitely check this out if you're into card games, if you're into some blind bidding, and it might be for you. Otherwise, you can just pass it up. There's tons of great games for Stronghold. There's tons of great games coming out every year. Even other games from Sophia Wagner that are fun to play too. So that's the Boldest from Stronghold and Spielweis. I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @DLadiesRetro. And until next time, I'll see you. I don't know why I snapped. It's late at night. That's why I snapped just then. And I thought it would look cool, but it's probably cheesy. It is definitely cheesy. I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower